difficult the decisions you had to make today were compared with the decisions you had to make before the World Cup in Russia?
Well, I spoke to the players. I mean, really, it's the three more senior players that I spoke to yesterday to explain what was happening. So, of course, that's always difficult. You know what a big thing it is for a player to go to a major tournament, and those three boys have, really been valuable members of our squad. And I gave them all the option, if they didn't want to stay with the group, to go home, but they were all adamant. They value being with England. They want to be part of the squad. They know that we've still got 2 matches to play, which they will be involved in. And if we pick up injuries, that group of players are the ones who are on standby. So I'm always mindful of what happened with Trevor Sinclair in Japan, that things can change very, very suddenly. So of course it's difficult. It's always nicer to give people the news they're in a squad for the first time, or give them a first cap. Much more difficult because I've been a player. I know how difficult it is to receive that difficult news.
The most obvious next question is, you've got 4 right backs in the squad, which is, I think, unprecedented. Explain that one to us.
Well, I think we went through this last week. Yes, we have 4 players that play sometimes at right back for their clubs, but Kieran's here, has been playing at wing back as well as at right back. Reece James has played right of a 3 or right wing back. Trent plays at right back, and Kyle Walker, has played at centre half for us in a 3, and has also played at left back during a match for us against Denmark. Reece James was in midfield against Aston Villa. Basically, they're in our best 26 footballers, and that's why they're in the squad. And if I could have picked a 5th or a 6th right back, I probably would have done.
Is it fair for us to assume then that you're not categorising them as right backs and that they will play elsewhere? And I wonder whether, you told us last week that Trent Alexander-Arnold is such a good footballer, you could see him playing further forward, maybe in the midfield, and you haven't got as many options on the right side of midfield maybe as you have on the left. Is that an option for him?
We're here to play 9 games, and we know we already have some injury doubts in the group. I'm sure we're going to face other difficulties over the next 5 weeks. So we need adaptability, we need good players, we need good professionals, tactically savvy players, and we're fortunate that we've got old and young players who fit all those categories.
You mentioned you've got some injury concerns. One of the most obvious ones of those is Harry Maguire, who's had this ankle ligament problem and missed the Europa League final. You've named him, so you have hopes for him. Do you expect him to be fit for the opening game, or is he somebody that you've still got to assess and may have to make changes and replacements for if he doesn't come through?
Well, we know exactly where he's at. Our medical team have been over with him in Manchester. He's not travelled yet to us because with the quarantine issues coming back from Poland, that was a bit more complicated. So he's got a bit to do. It's like Hendo, they've both got a bit to do really to be available. But we feel that the possibility that they can play a part, and the fact that they're such fantastic characters to have around the group. Hendo is already, his leadership, his presence is having an effect on other people, especially the younger ones in the group, but all of the others as well. So given we were able to pick 26, we felt that the opportunity to have those 2 with us was a straightforward one, really.
We were a little surprised to see Manchester United's announcement earlier on this morning that Mason Greenwood was withdrawing from the squad, especially because it happened on the day when you were due to announce the 26th. Can you explain to us what happened there, and would he have been in your 26 had he been fit?
Well, I spoke with Mason and with Ollie last Friday, so that was when that decision was made. I guess it was a bank holiday weekend, so that's maybe why it's not come out till today. So, to be honest, we hadn't, at that point, got to the level of decision on the reducing the 26. We still were waiting for the Champions League final. So it's unfortunate for Mason to miss out on any tournament, even though he's young. These opportunities don't come around often. We know what an exciting player he can be, but it wasn't an option for us.
You said obviously Jesse Lingard misses out, and you said he's taken that very well, and he still wants to be a part of the squad for these friendlies. What was you thinking in why he wasn't going to make the final 26? Just the number of options you had in those positions and the fitness of others.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse's done incredibly well to get back in the race, really. Going back to January, he was a million miles from being selectable for an England squad. I said in March he'd had a fabulous few weeks, but you'd have to say that he was a little fortunate because we were without around 4 wide players at that time. He had a good spell with West Ham, and he's been a player that has played so well for us with England. We have total trust in the way he plays. He's reliable. He's a great member of the group. He will play tomorrow because we've got Sancho ill, and we've obviously got a lot of players not available, and for the balance of the team he'll start. So he deserves that opportunity to go and show me that I'm wrong first straight away. But also the lads that are with us, they're the standby players. We've got to keep them match ready as well in case they come back into that squad.
Can I ask a couple to the man on your right, Kieran Trippier? Kieran, first and foremost, massive congratulations, mate. We should never take for granted how special it is for players to make a squad for a major tournament like this. And I just wonder how special it is for you, especially when you know the competition you've got in the position you play.
Yeah, it's a very special moment for myself. I know the competition that I've got from the other right backs. And it's just about, playing well for my club. And I feel like I've done that this season. But I know I've got great competition. There's 3 right backs here, Walks, Trent and Reece, and there's other right backs also who've done fantastic in the Premier League this season. So yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to be in the 26 and just looking forward to the tournament now and helping the team as much as I can.
Be honest with us, were you a little bit surprised Gareth went with all 4 of you in the 26?
Obviously there's 4 quality right backs, and as Gareth said before, we can play in different positions to help the team. As 4 right backs, competitive right backs, we just want to help each other as well and whatever's best for the team, and I'm sure all 4 of us will do that.
Thanks, mate. One final one for Gareth, if that's okay, before I hand over to everybody else. Gareth, you mentioned that a few of the players are on your standby list, the senior players that are involved. Can you tell us a bit more about that standby list, who's on it? And of course, you can still make changes to this squad up to your first game. So you've got another 12 days when that gives you a bit of a safety net, doesn't it?
Yeah, basically all of the players that are here will be on that standby list. So Ben Godfrey, Ben White, Aaron Ramsdale, James Ward-Prowse, Jesse Lingard, and Ollie Watkins. That they will be the standby players. If we have any injuries, we can only change now on the basis of injuries. So obviously those guys will be training with us, and they'll be involved in the matches as well. I think that's important. We want to get them into the games, not only because we feel if we have an issue they need to be ready, but they deserve it. Their commitment to stay with the group, their respect for their teammates to want to be here, shows what playing for England means to this group of players. And I think it's important the public know that, because sometimes people dismiss the importance of England caps, what it means to players. This group are incredible in that regard, and those 3 boys in particular that received that disappointment yesterday, I think it speaks massively for their character and their personality.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Rob. Time to open up to others. We'll start with Carrie Brown from BeanymanSports.
Thank you. Hello, Gareth. Very difficult for you to name this squad. Not lacking creativity in midfield, which we were talking about going into the last World Cup. But with Jordan a bit of an injury doubt at the moment, what does that say about what Jeeves has shown to you with his so young an age, and how hard a conversation was it with James?
Well, I've got to say James was brilliant, as was Jesse, as was Ollie. Totally professional. That is the character of those 3 players. But to speak specifically about James, I've had him as under-21 captain. He's had a very, very good season with Southampton. He gave himself every chance with his performances and his professionalism to be in the squad. It means an enormous amount to him to be involved with England. So, but for Jude, he's phenomenal. Just in training in the last couple of days, to have a 17-year-old who wants to compete with senior players, not only has the techniques but the competitiveness and the maturity. He's a hugely exciting player. He's going to be an important player for England. I think we're not just taking him for the experience. The experience is going to be enormous for him and for future England managers, because I don't see with him anything in his character that means he won't succeed. But his performance levels with Dortmund in the big Champions League games were the things that really struck us. He stood up in those big moments, and they're the moments we're really assessing the players on.
Bukayo Saka as well, when you've got the likes of Lingard not involved, Watkins not involved, but he is a player with great versatility. Why is he in your squad?
Well, firstly, he's performed exceptionally well for us. He's performed well in a team that's had a difficult season. Sometimes young players can go into teams that are playing well and flourish. He's gone into a team that have had a tough season and really played with character as well as skill. So again, we saw when he had to come on in Belgium, real personality in his performance. And as you rightly say, his adaptability, the fact he can play probably 4 or 5 different positions, is a real plus for us.
Thanks, Karen. Next we'll go to Alex Howell from BBC Sport.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi, Alex.
Just a bit of a clarification on Harry Maguire. You said he has a bit of work to do. Will he be fit for the group games, or is it later in the tournament that you have him in mind?
Well, we don't know that yet, but it's going to be tight for the first game, there's no question. But again, I think he's such a good player, and because we had the additional size of squad, the fact that leadership which is growing in him all the time, we wanted to take that opportunity to bring him into the squad.
And then just looking at the names in the attacking group of the squad, do you think that's one of the strongest front lines in the tournament?
Well, there are a lot of very good front lines in the tournament. Portugal springs to mind immediately, France. So, we of course, we're a bit myopic. That's why people don't talk about Kieran, because he's playing in Spain. He's won La Liga. He's been voted in the team of the season. Nobody mentions him. So, yeah, other countries have very good players as well. We're happy with ours for sure. We wouldn't swap ours, and we're looking forward to working with them. And we're going to need all of them, because there's games where we'll play in different ways. You need to refresh the team. 9 matches to get through, so we're pleased to have that strength in depth.
Thanks, Alex. Next, Dan Salisbury-Jones from ITV News.
Hi, Gareth. I wouldn't ask you to comment on the specifics of Naomi Osaka this week for obvious reasons, but it seems to have sparked a debate about the relationship between sports stars and the media in settings like this one. I just wondered how you feel that will develop in the years to come.
Sorry, in terms of what? I'm not aware of the story.
The relationship between basically, she pulled out of the French Open because of her mental health concerns about going into press conferences and being under that scrutiny. I mean, nobody faces scrutiny as much as England players at a major tournament like this, do they?
No, but I can't comment on the young lady's situation, because everybody's an individual, and everybody has different things going on in their lives. So we're very conscious when we're talking about our players. We have to be ready to support them. We have to understand their individuality. We all have strengths, and we all have weaknesses. So, and I think everybody has to be conscious of mental health in this day and age, especially. So, yeah, I haven't had time, frankly, to read anything or watch anything for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but I would just say every individual is going to be very different in how they see things.
Can I ask you a slightly more positive one on Trent? And I just wonder about the players that are in the squad. When you let him know about that, did his face light up, or was it not quite a moment like that?
Okay, so I spoke with Trent about 3 weeks ago. So where the stories over the last couple of weeks that have ended up with lots of strange headlines, lots of strange stories, I've no idea where they've come from. But I felt there were stories that ran that were so far off the truth. I would never normally speak to a player because I read a lot of stories about myself that are not true, but I have to accept that's the job I'm in, and people speculate and write it as if it's exclusive or anything else. But when it's a player sometimes, and they might feel that they're reading it, so maybe it's true, maybe the manager is speaking to the press behind the back. That's obviously not the case. So even last night, we're still dealing with that, puzzled, because he's there taking set plays in the morning for the game tomorrow, and then he's reading that he's not going to the European Championship. I really don't understand it. Like, for me, it's no drama. I accept, as the England manager, this is what I deal with. I always go back to front page of the whatever it was. I'm the biggest fan of British Bake Off. I have Bake Off parties at my house, and I'm desperate to be on the show. The only thing in the story that was true was my age. That's the world I live in. But for my players, I want to protect them, and so again, we're having to speak to Trent last night to say, look, don't know where this is all coming from. It's nonsense. Because people then jump on it and say, I've got an agenda, or I don't like the kid. It's an incredible situation, really. But as I say, not bothered about it from my own point of view, but I do always think about the players.
Thanks, Dan. Next we'll go to Jack Pitbrook from The Athletic. Sorry, Jack, you're on mute.
Sorry. Hi, Gareth. You talked about the possibility of replacing players who are injured up until before the Croatia game. Is that an option for players who are currently recovering from an injury and trying to prove their fitness, like Henderson and Maguire, or would that only be for new injuries?
Yeah, no, that only for new injuries. So we don't have that option with those guys.
Okay. You talked a bit about Maguire's recovery. Can you tell us a bit about Henderson, Rashford and Grealish and how they're getting on?
Jordan has trained with the team all week, so that's been good. I mean, we've had to modify him through certain parts of the session. He'll be involved in the game tomorrow. So his progress is good, but we're realistic about what that might look like. Jack has trained with the team, hasn't been able to train every day. We've got to manage his load. So again, we want to get the players to the best possible point, but we don't want to break them in the process. Marcus, we haven't seen on the grass, but I've spoken with him, and he assures me he's happy with where he's at. So we go from there with that one.
Thanks, Jack. Okay, next we'll go to BBC Look North.
Hello, Gareth. It's Dawn Thewlis here from BBC.
How you doing, Dawn?
Because I'm all right. How are you? Long time no
good to see you.
You too. Just a couple of quick ones from me. Obviously, it's important to take England matches around the country, I think, to get fans involved from all over and get behind the team in a big tournament. But why choose Middlesbrough this time?
Well, the initial decisions come from the FA, so they give me the possibilities. They wanted to take the team to the northeast. We were hoping to play at Newcastle as well. And if we'd had the opportunity with full stadiums and without having to set the stadiums up for COVID, we would have liked to have used both stadiums. And of course, when we were coming to the northeast, I knew that the training facilities here, as well as the hotel, are fabulous environment. It's been great, very relaxed for the boys. They've some play a bit of golf. The weather's been glorious. we only have to walk across the field to the training ground. And of course, the real bonus in this sort of era of sporting bubbles with COVID, because the weather's been so good, we've been able to sit outside, we've been able to spend more time together, eat outside. And that's, I think, been great for everybody psychologically.
Of course, coming back to the club where you captained and managed is nice for you, but also good for Teesside fans in particular to be able to see a game of this calibre.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing here 2003 against Slovakia, I think it was, and everybody was hugely proud to host the England team, and you can see the excitement around the area already. So, yeah, I'm of course delighted to bring the team here, but it wasn't initially my decision, so I don't want any accusations of nepotism.
Thank you, Dor. Next, we'll go to Marcello Courage from TV Globo. Sorry, Marcello, your mute button's on.
Second. Now, can you listen to me?
Yes.
I hear you, yeah.
Okay. So, Gareth, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kieran, too. I would like to know, given the circumstances of the pandemic in this country, which are pretty nice now, but we still are living in the pandemic, and this competition has like 11 countries involved, and there's a big possibility of you guys flying abroad. How much of a challenge is this to your plans to work with the team, Gareth?
Well, we've experienced this throughout the autumn and in March, the very restrictive environment in those periods for team meetings, for the guys to socialise together, most importantly, because, one of the great things about this group of players, they get on so well, they want to spend time just chatting and sharing their experiences, and that was really difficult through the previous camps. Now, because we are going to be together for a longer period without people coming from the outside, as we're together for those longer periods, we can start to ease those restrictions because we'll have more negative tests and we'll have more awareness of that. And we're in the summer now, so like I said, we can get outside more, which it allows us to operate a little bit differently. So the possibility of travel will be exactly the same as it's been for the players with their clubs and for us with the national team over the last 12 months. We're used to that. We know how to prepare for it. It's not what you'd choose, but everybody is facing those difficulties, and we respect that so many people in the world haven't been able to do their jobs in the way we have.
And Kieran, living in a different country like Spain, you probably felt different standards of dealing with the pandemic for a football player and for clubs. What you're thinking about England in this case, and the possibility of playing in front of your crowd, your people at the group stage?
Yeah, obviously for myself, at times it was challenging, obviously in Spain, with everything that was going on, but I tried to keep myself busy with the club, and the most important thing for me was my family. But yeah, to be representing England at Wembley, it's a dream come true. To play the Euros for England, to be in and around the team, and to play in front of the fans at Wembley, it's an unbelievable feeling, especially for the supporters. But yeah, it's one tournament that I'm really looking forward to. I'm absolutely delighted to be involved with the team and just looking forward to it now.
Okay, thank you very much, Marcello. Okay, we've only got time for two more, so apologies to plenty of you who've got your hands raised already. We'll take one from Jack Hart at Stats Perform.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi, Jack.
12 out of your 23 outfield players have combined for 62 direct free kick attempts this season in the Premier League. Have you even begun to think of a pecking order for those?
Well, the quality of the free kick taking after training is very high. So the pecking order will be based on what we see in those training sessions and what we know people are capable of. Because if they're not delivering in training and hitting those areas regularly, then there'll be no transfer into the game. So no point going in with hope. We've got to see the action. But it's a good school at the end of training sessions, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you, Jack. And we'll finish with one last one from Jonathan Swain from ITV Good Morning Britain.
Hi Gareth, good to see you. Just to give us a sense of I know the training is one thing, isn't it? Getting all the players together, you've sorted out all the names in the squad now. Just gives a sense of how important it is, something that you can't perhaps teach the players, and that is just how well they're going to get off together, in the training and sort of off the pitch together. They're going to be with each other now for a number of weeks, and lots of managers talk about them going World Cups, it yourself, or particularly like the Lions tour. You've got these players from different clubs, different countries now with your squad as well. It gives a sense of how important that is and what sort of things you can do to bring all the players together to get that great atmosphere amongst them.
Well, these boys get on unbelievably well. I mean, there's lots of connections between boys who've played at youth level together, different age groups, boys who've been at clubs. Kieran was obviously with the boys at Spurs. Kyle Walker has those connections with the boys at Spurs. Raheem has the connections with Liverpool. So there's so many little interlinked groups of players. They socialise a lot when they're not with England. They keep in touch on social media. They're proud to be part of this England club, if you like. We've built an atmosphere, and it's credit to the players that it feels like a club. And then because it's like that, their commitment to each other on the pitch is massive. So there's no doubt that social part is really important. But it's only by having good people and good players like we've got that we're able to build that.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. That concludes this media conference. Again, apologies to those with raised hands, but thanks for joining us this evening.